everybody, this is Mary.
And this is Julie.
And you are listening to the High Priestess Hype Club. There we go.
Look at us, we're back.
Season 2. Season 2, we're back. Very excited. I think taking the break, I'm sorry we were away, guys, but I think taking the break was good for us for a while. And
yeah.
We decided to sit down and regroup about the shows. And so we have some really exciting things planned. Season 2, we looked at, we wanted to give you some really focused information because I think we like to talk to you guys and tell you all kinds of stuff, but we wanted to give some structure to what we were doing. So we're going to
and by structure, we chose one word.
So we picked astrology for this season, and I'm sure we'll talk about all kinds of stuff, but that's the main focus is astrology because we love it and we're learning it.
Fun.
Yeah, and we do
and
it.
I ask Mary about it every day anyway.
Yeah, we do have these conversations where we're like, all right, let's look up this celebrity and this, this chart and what's happening here. Ooh, transits, like, ooh,
Yep.
So that's really
I'm in such a terrible mood.
Yeah.
Let's look.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's just you, maybe it's the moon.
The moon was in Aries. It's like, oh, there it is,
There
yeah.
it is.
So that's the cool thing about charts. There's a lot of things you can see within them. And that's why we wanted to talk about it a bit because we're all about self-care and how you take care of yourself, and knowing yourself is a way to do that. So what better way than astrology? Here we are.
Yeah. It's fun. You can learn a new skill and also learn about yourself. And I say, if you can make therapy and learning about yourself fun in any way possible, it's worth it.
Right. It's true. It's true. Yeah. I mean, it's all the tools that we can use. And I think this is a great one. I know in this episode, we wanted to kind of start out with what we learned when we were kids, what our sun signs are. So we're going to talk a bit about that today. I know, Jules, you're going to talk a bit about how people can utilize the sun and some of their manifestations and things like that. So we've got an idea, guys. We've got some ideas for you.
We promise. We have an idea. We're going to do our best. We'll see how this goes. And you should write in and let us know how you feel about that. And listen for our little social media tag because I don't know it off the top of my head, but we're going to have a way that you can call in and leave us voicemails. Tell us what you think. If you have any questions, I think it's going to be fun.
Totally. And we're on all the social media, guys. We're High Priestess Hype Club on Instagram. We are not on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the Tickety Talk. We're on, those, and you can interact with us that way too, because you'll be able to see us there too. So yeah. Do you want to talk about the sun, Jules? You want to talk
about the sun?
The sun. So I learned about astrology. I think back to astrology. My mother would say to me, "Oh, you're a Sagittarius." She wasn't really into astrology in that sense, the way I'm into it. But she would say, "Oh, let's read the paper and see how your day is going to go." And so it was always interesting to me. And then once you start learning, you find out there's so much more to it. It's oh my God.
Yeah. I had no clue. It's a lot, but it's really cool.
It is. So here's the thing, guys. I think when you, we're going to take it from the idea, and I'm going to probably sprinkle in some things about if you want to learn astrology, but for those who are I just reading my horoscope or knowing what's going on, knowing your sun sign is great because your sun sign is really your core and your personality. So you can tell how your day is going to go from your horoscope in the paper because, it's mostly how you're operating. It's your operating system. It's what you're programmed with. So you bring those characteristics of that sign out in the way you handle your days. So I'll take Jules and us for an example. So Jules is an Aries.
Yes.
No, I love Aries. Aries are super strong. They're ruled by the planet Mars. So they are ready for, I don't want to say battle, but kinda, negotiations, trying to get their point across, things like that. But also if they got to go into battle, they're I'm all about it. A little bit of temper sometimes, our sun in Aries. Tiny bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Sometimes we stuff the temper in, but it's there.
Yeah. It can come out as cranky. Some of my friends that I know that are Aries, when they're really frustrated, they're instead of exploding, they cry. They're just I got to get it out somehow. Yeah. Oh yeah. You're not alone in that, Jules. I think one of the things about Aries that sort of gets overlooked is there's a lot of passion and drive behind the Aries. So if you have it balanced really well, then yes, you're pushing the teams forward. I know Jules, like, part of some of the work that you do is you're kind of supervising teams or pushing the projects forward that you do. That's perfect for you as an Aries. But yeah, so some Aries that can be temperamental, but I love our Aries because they're ready to go. They're ready for battle. Like, what do you need me to do? I'm in the fight with you, which I love.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of like, oh, you have a problem, let's fix it.
Yeah.
Or like, I have my part, we'll get to this in a minute, but Tracy is a Taurus. And so on Saturday mornings, they're like, I'm ready to not do anything all day. And I'm like, I have a list.
Right.
I've got all this stuff I want to do. Let's go. And they're just like, this is not what I wanted.
No. I want to enjoy things. You're like, no, we're getting going. Yeah.
So tell us about Taurus a little bit and why we have that conflict, Mary.
Right. Well, so you're a fire sign. That was part of what I was going to talk about. So fire signs are Aries, Leos, and Sagittarius. I'm a Sag. So when we get to that part of the horoscope or astrology, we'll talk about that. The other thing about Mars, if you don't know, sorry, not Mars. The other thing about Aries is it's usually between the dates of March 20th and April 20th. Thank you. I don't know why I'm mixing up my words today, but so March 20th to April 20th. So if you know somebody that's born in that time, you weren't sure of their sign, they're an Aries, they're a fire sign. The next sign that we're going to is Taurus, which is Tracy, right? So Tauruses are earth signs. They're also ruled by Venus. So if your sun is in Taurus, you want to have some of the finer things in life. And like Venus likes to be wined and dined and likes good food and good drink and relaxing and all that kind of stuff. So like when Tracy on Saturday mornings is like, oh, I don't have to get up for work. This is great. I can chill out in the bed. And you're like, and here comes the Aries, like, no, we've got things to do. And you speed out, so they just want to enjoy. I call them sometimes once in a lifetime experiences or just relaxation experiences. That's our Tauruses, but very stubborn, very stable, but sometimes they're hard to move. Like they're also hard to move. They're very
earthy.
They're very earthy. So when you have to move them, you have to really show them why they need to move in the sense of, if we go and do this, then this can happen and you can enjoy this. Then that's sometimes how you get Taurus. Not like to say there's a reward at the end, but kind of, if they have something to look forward to, that's like, ooh, that'll make me feel good. Then they'll go through what they need to do. So Tauruses, I usually know, can be very bullheaded because they're the bull. Very bullheaded. Oh my goodness.
You got a ram and a bull in my house.
Yeah.
And this is why therapy is important, kids, because sometimes you have to work things out. It's important anyway, but
But in that sense, because your signs are different, like so different, it's good that you find middle ground. That's really important.
Yeah.
Part of what we do. But that's where Tauruses operate from. They're like, I want to have fun. I'll do all the stuff I need to do, the practical stuff. But when I'm done with it, there better be a reward for me at the end. Like, I've earned all this money. Now I can spend it on something, not everything, but so so they have to have some kind of something to look forward to,
something pretty at the end.
Something pretty. Yeah. And Tauruses sometimes change their looks. They like to change.
A lot of looks queen going on there.
Yes. Absolutely. So yeah, that's your Taurus. And then the next one that comes up is a Gemini, which is an air sign. So if your sun's in Gemini, you're the twins. So I will tell you that is my mom, the saint, is a Gemini. I always say sometimes you don't know which side of the bed the saint got out of, what side she was coming out of. So I love our Geminis, I do, but sometimes you don't know who you're getting that day. That's all the Geminis. I love all my Geminis, but there's like, which one am I getting today? The good one or the not so good one? But super into detail. If you need someone to remember something, Gemini, they'll be able to tell you like what time someone got to something, and they're very social, love research, love details, but sometimes they can get so focused in on the details they miss the big picture. So you have to kind of snap them out of it sometimes. But if you work with someone like this, if you work with a Gemini, if you can keep them focused, because sometimes they get scattered because they're socializing, but if you can keep them focused, some of the information they can come back with, if you're looking for some, can be like, oh my God, how did you find that? They'll overturn every rock that they can find.
So my best friend from college is a Gemini.
Oh, okay.
She has the part of her that goes by her first name and the part of her that goes by her middle name, depending on the day. Right? This is funny that you're saying all that. She is a spreadsheet queen.
Ooh.
Like spreadsheet queen, and like incredibly social and like really sweet, really kind. But then Danita shows up and you're like, oh, it's a Danita day.
Oh,
But she says it first. So she's a very self-aware Gemini.
she is. That's pretty cool.
Which is nice.
Yeah. We all should be like that as our self.
Look, I'm going to like out everybody I know on this podcast today. Like, that's all it's going to be. Mary's going to be like, here's the real stuff, guys.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, I know a person who's like that.
Right.
I love all of you.
Oh, yeah, we do. We love all of you. It's just, every sign has his plus and his deltas, as we used to say in the corporate world. We have both sides. Nobody's perfect. So, but yeah, Geminis are interesting creatures. And as a Sagittarius, like I said, I'm also like, it's my opposite. So sometimes I'm like, stop worrying about all that. It's going to be fine.
It's going to be okay.
So yeah, that's our Gemini. And then we go to Cancer, and you have a little Cancer in the house, Jules.
Yes, yeah. Our youngest sensitive toughie.
Mm-hmm. They are, but that's a good way to describe them. They're very sensitive, like can be very romantic and very like thoughtful and very emotional. Cancer is ruled by the moon. So, you know what I mean? Like, so obviously as the moon changes, the Cancer mood changes.
Oh, yeah.
Very much about family. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Very much about home. So how their home looks, how their things are positioned, like they like things a certain way in their home because their home is their sanctuary, right? Mm-hmm. If you think about a Cancer, they're the crab in astrology. That's how they're represented. So they carry their house on their back. It's very important to them.
Oh,
so
yeah.
But moody, emotional, dramatic, can be if someone's on the height of their emotions, it can be really, it's pouring out of them. It's pouring out of a Cancer,
yes,
what they're feeling. Yeah, you can tell. That's one thing. Cancers really don't hide that well. They don't. Yeah. So that sound like your youngest?
Oh, yeah.
They are going to be very considerate about people around them. They are going to, if someone's having a bad day, they're going to want to lift them up. I mean, a Cancerian is very good at that. But if they're not having a good day emotionally, watch right out because they're struggling. Yeah. And they're it's all the feels.
It's a lot of feels.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of imaginary scenario feels.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Cancers tend to they can go way into the emotional, like, again, all kinds of stuff, almost like a Gemini, but it's more of like, I'm going to feel this way. And it's like, why? No, it's okay. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. And they hold on to things a long time too. Cancerians seem to like just hold on to memories and things like that, really. So, we honor that because just they process it emotionally. So when the moon's in Cancer, especially around that, hold on, y'all, because they're feeling it.
All the feels.
So June 20th to July 20th is a Cancerian. My niece is a Cancerian. Emily's a Cancerian. And some of the things that comes out of her mouth are hysterical. They're really, really funny. One day she said to me, I said, hey, how's it going? We were texting. She wrote me back. She goes, everything's going well, but it should nosedive at any minute now. I'm like,
but it's just going to tank at any moment.
At any moment. I'm like, there's a Cancerian right there. There they are. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you can see it, like something comes out of someone's mouth. You're like, oh my God. Yeah, that's whatever sign, I find that with my Aquarian friends a lot. They'll come out with something and I'm like, there you are. There's the Aquarian,
Yeah. Yeah.
So next is a Leo. We know our Leos, king and queens and rulers of the jungle. They're very much about royalty. They think and there's nothing wrong with this, but they see themselves as royalty. They see themselves as should be pampered and like, I'm the best. Like, what's your problem? Oh yeah. Like, I'm like, awesome. Like what, but they also can be very dramatic and very haughty. And if they feel like they've been insulted, they're like, off with your head kind of thing. They're represented by lions. If you think about lions' personalities,
Yeah.
No BS, y'all.
Frequent contributor to the show, Ricky, is a Leo. No, he is a cat, but he is a Leo. But he is dramatic and tries to take things over.
Yeah. I mean, I know when we do this podcast, like Ricky shows up and he's like, what? Hey, like what's going on? Or what was it yesterday? We were talking and I could hear him meowing
like outside. Yeah. And I have an earpiece that is supposed to be like noise canceling for truck drivers, y'all. And she could hear him. It was
I was like, is that Ricky?
Just
You were
to
like,
give you an indicator, he's on the other side of a thick door yelling at us.
Uh-huh. He sure was. And he came up and got his face right in the screen. He's like, what?
He's like, hey, B,
yeah,
I'm here.
Here. Yeah. It's pretty.
Hair flip.
Hair flip. If Ricky could do that, Ricky would. Yeah. Yeah. No, Leos are, they're amazing creatures, but man, are they. So Ben Affleck's a Leo.
My youngest brother is too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see how like the paparazzi, like he loves being on stage and he's a great actor, but when they are following him and J-Lo, you can see how irritated he's getting.
Mm-hmm.
He can't hide it. And I think that's a lot of the Leo thing, like how dare you cross the line with me? So
right.
Interesting. Yeah. And
insert sad Affleck meme here.
My favorite ones where he's like got a cigarette in his hand and he's like, oh, like
that one's good too. That one's good too. I like the one where he's in the interview with Henry Cavill and people like do the push on him and it's just like, hello darkness, my old friend. Anyway.
Hey, pop culture's got to be part of our time together. It is.
It's true.
And then we have Virgos. So another earth sign. Leo's fire. We go to Earth, Virgos. Now, Virgos will hurt your feelings, but they do it because they're trying to help you.
Okay.
And anytime I say this to someone about a Virgo, they're like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Because they're like, they have their systems, they have their ways of doing things. They feel like it's the best way. They know if you adopted it, it's the best way. So what is your problem? Like that's
right.
That's a Virgo. I'm just trying to help you. I'm telling you that dress looks terrible on you because it does, and you should just fix that. I don't want you to go out like that. You're like,
because I love you.
Yeah, because I love you. And you're like, okay.
Can you be kinder about this?
Right. Yeah. Do you want to? You won't like being in pictures in that dress. Why don't you change?
And it's like, I'm an Aries, but I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, I'm like, oh. All right. So yeah. Virgos are excellent. Like if you need someone to rearrange things, to head a project, to like just to have details and to be able to put them in an order that makes sense and is efficient, that's your Virgos. Those are your Virgos.
Isn't
also
Beyonce a Virgo?
I think she is. Yeah,
I feel like Beyonce's a Virgo,
which would make sense because Beyonce has the way. Even her and I know a lot of shows are scripted, but her show seems to me like to be very scripted, and we're moving this way and we're doing this and way.
Like perfect, like really well practiced, and
so that's absolutely Virgo. Yeah. And they're a lot about their jobs, not so much their careers. Their careers are important, but they can go into any job and just kind of blend and figure out how to fix it. They're amazing.
Sorry, I totally interrupted you. So are they like end of August to, is that where we are?
Yeah, mid-August to mid-September. Yeah, like August 20th to September 20th, somewhere in there.
Okay.
So that's the thing. It's important to note, guys, if you have someone that's born like on a cusp between like the 19th and I'd say the 23rd, you want to run their chart, and you can do those for free online. And it's easy to read what their sun sign is in, but you will find someone who's on a cusp will like pull from both signs that they're on the cusp from. So like I have a friend of mine who is right on the edge of Cancer and Leo.
Okay.
She's definitely like very empathetic like a Cancer, but she's got that Leo royalty going on for her. So she pulls from both, which is really interesting because like, oh, that's your Leo side coming out. If someone like hurts her feelings or something, she's like, rah! And I'm like, there's Leo right there. Yeah. So that's the thing. You got to, if someone's right on the cusp, look it up, see where their sun sign is. And then you will notice they'll pull from both. So it's a little interesting because they have the energy kind of blending of both going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we talked about Virgo. So that's the bottom half of a chart too. If you're looking at a chart, the bottom half is the Aries to the Virgo.
Okay.
And then it turns into opposites. So like the first house is opposite the seventh house, second, eighth, and so on and so forth. So a chart has 12 houses. You have the bottom half, which is house 1 through 6, and then the top house, which is 7 through 12. And then you have the opposites. So first and seventh, second and eighth, third house, ninth house, fourth house, 10th house, fifth house, 11th house, and then sixth house, 12th house.
So I know they're opposite,
Mhm.
but what does that mean? Like, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to like butt heads though, right? Or is it
No,
like, okay.
no, but what it will do is I like to call this, they're oppositions, right? So they're
Yeah.
in, and we'll get into this later on, guys, but oppositions usually in an astrology chart is kind of pushing you and challenging you to see the other side of things. So
Ah,
yeah, so like you're an Aries sun, you're the opposite would be a Libra sun. So
mhm.
how do we balance like you between that energy so that, because that's kind of a bit of the other half. So Aries is all about who I am. Libra is all about who we are, because
Mm,
have the balance and the relationships and things like that. So we were talking about Libra, so we'll talk about the Libra suns, but they are definitely about balance. They're about negotiation. They want to communicate. The problem with Libras is that sometimes if they delve into that too much and they see both sides too much, they can't make a decision.
oh, I could see that. Okay, that's why people say they can be indecisive
Yeah, because they're
sometimes.
like, oh,
Okay.
I see side A, and okay, oh, I see side B. Okay. Well, yeah, I can see side A again. Wait a minute, now side C is coming in, and maybe I could see that. I don't,
Right.
oh, because they're so good at seeing everything. That's where they
Hmm.
get indecisive. So,
And
but that's not,
suddenly we're in a geodesic
oh,
dome of options.
yeah, yeah. And you're like, could you just,
And there is no door. Like, how are
oh,
we going to do this?
how are
Right.
we gonna do this? Just pick one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Libras are really interesting because they have to, if you find a Libra that's out of balance, that's a problem.
Mhm.
Because that's how they have to function. And so if they go out of balance for some reason, it's not
Really
good.
hard on them.
It's really
Yeah.
hard. Yeah, yeah. But man, can they talk? They're air signs, they can talk.
Yeah.
You know, they're September 20th to October 20th. Again, some, it's a little shaky on those times, but
Hmm.
for the majority of them, like if you know someone born October 10th, they're Libra. I mean, no
Hardcore Libra.
hardcore. That's it. That's it. Yeah. Well, sometimes like for someone like say, so Julie, say you were like hanging out with a Libra, you might be like, well, but which one do you want to do? Like, I think you could guide them into making a decision, like,
Hmm.
so you could kind of bring it down to what they need and what they want because you understand that from the Aries side. So
Right.
you have to think about that when you're talking to friends or things like, if you know what their sun sign is, you can be like, oh, okay, this is how they operate. Maybe I can try this. So that can
Yeah.
be, so there
Or
you
if
go.
I can't see anything except one way that's going to go down, maybe my Libra friend could help me be like, look, dude, there's always options.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's perfect example. Perfect.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
thanks.
Like, feeling like Cher. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This isn't a visual podcast
Yeah.
necessarily. Sorry, guys.
We're throwing our hair all around,
There's
guys.
a lot of hair flipping.
A lot of hair flipping. Let's see. Oh, so we're going to talk about Sun and Scorpio. Ooh, our Scorpios. Ooh, our Scorpios.
I always hear, ooh, our Scorpios, and I always never really quite know why. We always have the stereotypical why that like the internet tells us, but why, Mary? Why?
The internet tells us. Well, they're ruled by Pluto. So they want to dig underneath and understand like the psychological, why people do things the way they do. They want to catch people like, there are detectives. They can be police, but really detectives, psychologists, because they're searching for information,
Unearthing. Yeah.
unearthing things. Yeah. So they're your anybody who's working with the mind and the psychological. That's where they consider a
Okay.
lot of things. However, on the other side, you have to think about the underground also as being the mobsters, the crime organizations, when you hear about these, go ahead, what?
I was gonna say like the more sus side of life.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's the thing, a Scorpio can be really comfortable in either one of those places. So even if they're doing the good, like, so say they're like a detective or a psychologist,
Mhm.
they could get into some of the nasty stuff, like the real nasty stuff,
Yeah.
because they have the stomach for it. So
Right.
Scorpios are very, I don't want to use the word secretive, but they're very close to the vest. Very
Sure.
close. My brother's a Scorpio, and it's funny, I was talking to my cousin Donna the other day, and she's like, well, you know him. He's a man of few words. And I'm like, that is true. That is
Yeah.
true. So
Yeah.
he'll talk to you and he'll learn a lot about you, but you might not know a lot about him. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So that's the challenge with the Scorpio. If they're telling you things and they're kind of like letting you into their inner circle, you're way in, because
Yeah.
they don't like to talk about their stuff. They don't.
Yeah.
Get very close to the vest. Very psychic too. Very, very psychic. Yeah.
Oh, neat.
Scorpios are their intuition is spot on. They're water signs.
So is that eighth house? Is that right?
Yep, it's eighth. Yes, naturally it's the eighth house.
I'm learning, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and guys, we will explain all this, but yeah, it's natural. The natural house where Scorpio usually is the eighth house. That's the one that Scorpio owns. So that's the occult and other people's money and other people's resources. And, like I said, the detective work, the underground.
Yeah.
It's really, it's an intent. It's the death house. People are afraid of it. It's not so scary. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not so scary. Then the ninth house, of course, is all about the Sages. So I can speak to that because I'm Sag, fire sign. November 20th to December 20th. I'm December 10th, which is Human Rights Day. That's when my birthday is.
That's awesome.
Right in the middle of if you were trying to figure out if I was a Sagittarius, you can. I'm right in the middle. We're known for our bluntness. We are blunt to our own detriment sometimes, but sometimes we just say it like we see it, which is not always good. We're risk takers. We're also a bit spontaneous. So I'm one of these people, which I don't know if this is good or not, that I'll be like, it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm really hungry. I think I want to go out somewhere. Let's see. Is there a 24-hour IHOP open? Yeah. You want to go for a ride? Let's go. So I've been sitting at IHOP at like 3:00 because I just all of a sudden decided I wanted a pancake.
Yeah. Spontaneity.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So to really get to a Sagittarius's heart, you have to give them the freedom they're looking for. You can be part of the freedom, but like I dated a guy who was like, oh, I don't really like to travel. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I got to do that. I need to go like out of my space, and so that's you got to give the Sag some freedom, and then we're fine. We're fine if we get it. But if you try to like put a Sag into
lock us down.
Oh, no, we're out. We're out.
And then you're like, bye.
Yeah. Peace out. Yeah. So fire signs. We're about like philosophy and higher thinking and stuff like that, but we're about adventure and fun too. So, and sometimes that can get out of control with anything. Sure. That spontaneity can be like, how did I end up here? Oh, well, let's make the
here now.
Yeah, I'm here now. I was on a diet, but I had a breakfast burrito at IHOP at 4:00 in the morning. I'm going to go to bed and start over,
Let's try again.
And that's not from drinking, guys. That's just me, like the one part, like, hey, I'm awake. I think I'm hungry. I think I'm going to go eat. Like, that's what I just wanted. Yeah. I one morning I got up and I said to my mom, I was like, oh, I'm going to go take pictures. We have this place in Massachusetts called Ponyhenge, where someone has left out a bunch of like ponies from like young kids. And it's all in like this pony, like this circle of ponies of, like the rocking horse ponies and all that kind of stuff.
I was gonna say, are they real ponies or are they like
they're the toys,
like carousel ponies and and like the little okay.
All of those. So I was like, oh, I want to go out and get it at sunrise. So I like woke up at 4:30 and I was like, so I went downstairs. I'm like, hey mom, I'm gonna leave now. She's like, where are you going? So I told her. She's like, you doing what? I'm like, I'm driving out to Lincoln and I'm gonna get these pictures of this place. And she's like, well, aren't you tired? I'm like, no, I'm fine. Went and got a nice tea, drove out there. It was misty. It was one of those misty mornings that looked really spooky.
I bet you got great pictures.
But you know what I mean? Like that's kind of like the Sag, like, oh yeah, that's fine. Let's just do it. Aren't you worried? Yeah, we'll figure it out. So can be good, can be bad. So yeah, November 20th to December 20th. And then we go into Capricorn, which is definitely different than a Sag. I love our Capricorn. Again, I love all these signs.
Very different.
Very different. Very, very different. Capricorns are very earthy. So they're like, I am all about business. I am all about that structure. I'm fame and reputation. I'm going to do amazing on my career. And don't come to me crying about something. Just give me the facts and get the hell out of my office. Like that's usually a Capricorn. They're about their business. They're very passionate about their business. They'll know a lot of things about it, but yeah, it's sometimes Capricorns are accused of a lot of work and no play.
Yeah.
But if you want your company or your reputation pulled out of something, like say, your company kind of took a little bit of a hit, a PR hit, a Capricorn can whip that into shape. Like nobody's business. Yeah, they're your business owners. If you don't, if you know a Capricorn that doesn't really like to work, you want to look at their chart because that's not usually a traditional Capricorn. They love their fame and all that. Yeah. Yeah.
My good friend who's the most Capricorn I've ever met, like even her fun stuff is work.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily business work, but maybe sometimes, but it's very like there's work involved, right? It's not like I'm just going to hang out and watch TV. It's like I'm going to learn to raise a new kind of livestock.
Right. That's amazing.
Oh, she's so awesome. I love her so much. And I have learned a lot from her.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But they're intense. Like like I said, if you're at work and you walk into their office crying, just walk out, because it's not going to go well. They're going to be like, what are you crying over? Like, what is it? Does this have to do with business? Pull it together. Like they don't have a lot of tolerance for it, because we're at work. Like we're at work. Why are you crying? So
like we can cry about this a little.
Right. I'll take it for drinks afterwards, but in the meantime, pull it together.
Yep.
Yeah, that's our Capricorns. And then we go to Aquarius. So when I talked about earlier, my friend who's a very it's so much an Aquarian. He's so much an Aquarian. I said something one day about having like dogs and having this whole thing. Like he's like, well, but if you had dogs and then you brought them to your office, you'd have to worry about this, 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 and this. And I'm like, can I just have my fantasy about like bringing my dogs in my bag? No, not with an Aquarian sometimes. No.
Nope. I have an 11-year-old Aquarian at my house.
Nope.
Maybe we could do this. Well, but actually it would be like this if that happened. It's like, can we have a moment where we're just thinking about things that are fun? Yeah, crush all of our dreams. They're so sweet. So when that happens, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't even. But you can tell there's part of them. It's a lot of just like, but logically it's this.
Right. They're very much an Aquarian. That's a great way to describe them. Yeah.
But also like weird and creative.
Right.
So I heard somewhere that like an Aquarian is like a mad scientist. And I was like, yep.
They're your inventors, your innovators, this is what the system is. We're going to blow up the system. Right. To make a new system. Like yes, we think that's a good idea, but we want a new way of doing it. So they're amazing at that, but they're also shocking and explosive. So that can be that can be a thing. Right. And air signs, they're very logical. So that whole thing about bringing you back down to earth, that's Aquarian energy, but they can be non-traditional.
Oh yeah.
So for example, when I see a Venus in Aquarius, so we'll talk about Venus soon enough, guys, but if I see a Venus in Aquarius, usually that's someone that's into non-traditional relationships. So either they're into polyamory, they live in separate residences, they have a May December romance, as they call them. Different community of folks, like, and it's just different, like, and you have to be a certain mindset to be able to handle something non-traditional, I think, and your Aquarians are just right for that. They love it. So but they can maneuver within different love scenarios. They're really cool like that, and all different kinds of friends. And so there are free thinkers about friendships and helping the universe. So I love our, but man, when they bring me down to earth, they poof.
I mean, they will just like grab you and yoink you down.
And drop you down.
And it's surprising. And I don't know if it's like this for other people, but it's surprising because they're not always like that. They can be so quirky and out there and like just bonkers and silly and like what is happening. And then they're just like, but actually you have to do this because that won't work. And it's like, but I
thought
that's a sharp turn.
Right.
We're having fun, bro.
Exactly. I had this whole fantasy about dogs, and they were like, well, but actually, and I was like, no, stop, do not do that. I was like, yeah, you're right, but I didn't want you to be right. I wanted to have my doggy fantasy. So those are and January 20th to February 20th in there, guys. So if you know your Aquarians, and then the last sign of the zodiac, but definitely not least, they're wonderful, is our Pisces water signs. So February 19th to March, or February 20th to March 20th. Then we come back to Aries again. But Pisces sort of get a bad rap because they're the last sign of the chart. Very empathetic water signs, can be super sensitive. But if you flip that over, sometimes, I mean, I have known Pisces who have said things to me that I'm like, okay.
And you're a Sagittarius saying
right. Yeah. I'm like, wow, Pisces are just going to come out of the gate. It's not even so much blunt. I mean, it's a bit of blunt, but it's like, it knows where to poke at you. Sagittarians can be blunt. We can come anywhere with blunt. Pisces,
targeted.
it's targeted. They know the emotional piece that's going to hit you.
Yeah.
And they can be very emotional themselves. I can see Pisces
Oh
sometimes,
yeah.
like they're going through something. They're very teary-eyed, which is okay, but they're known to be the rebels as far as our structures in society. So these are the folks that are saying the hospitals need to be run different. The schools may need to be run different. Anything around structural organizations within society. Pisces are like,
Interesting.
they also are very much what we call a serve or suffer. So Pisces have to be in service to somebody or be kind, or they feel like they're not meeting their life
Like
purpose.
life goal. Yeah.
So they have to do something that's important to them, or they feel like they're suffering with other people. It's just they have to give back. So they can be emotional. I have a really close friend that's a Pisces, and sometimes like she'll say something to me and I'm like, oh my God, all right, she just poked at me. Like I'm like, girl.
Yeah.
But then we'll laugh and we'll talk about it. But it's like, I'm just like, it's almost the same as Aquarius. Like it comes out of left field, but Aquarius is like a little more logical. Like the Pisces are like poke, like at the emotions. It's like, whoop, okay. Super creative, super artistic. They can be, like, even like if you want to call it crafty, because sometimes I say to people like artistic, like, no, I'm not into art. I'm not into that. But it's like, no, but you like artsy things, or you can do artsy things or spiritual things. They can be a little escapism. So our Pisces have to be careful with addiction stuff. Because escapism can fall into addiction stuff. So they just have to.
Oh, right. And that's how that thinks. You guys, I keep going to houses. It's just stuff's clicking in my brain, but that's why that's 12th house, right?
12th house.
So it's,
yeah. So that's all the sun signs. So that's the thing. Like if you know someone's sun sign, you get a slice of their whole personality pie, but that's really the operating system from it. So if someone says they're an Aries or a Sag, you can think about their characteristics and like sort of like work with them in that respect.
Yeah, it's kind of like the base of where they come from. It might not actually be like what they show everybody all the time, right? Because that's more like your rising and stuff like that, or how their emotions come out, because and we're going to get into all this because that's more moon and stuff. But you can figure out like what's the base of their core kind of stuff.
Yeah. And as we go through this series, we're going to talk about the moon and the rising. And so I call those the big three. So if you have the big three of somebody in your life, you can see like how they operate, how they show themselves to the world, and then how they feel about things. And those are pretty big things. So if you know the big three, which I love, sometimes I'll say, oh, what's your sign? They're like, oh, I am a Pisces sun with an Aries moon. And I'm like, oh, good. Give me it all. Give me it all.
Give me all those details. Yeah.
All those details, because then I can really tell what's going on. But it's good to know. And listen, if say you're an Aries and you decide to date a Libra, or like I'm a Sag and I decide to date a Gemini, it doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It just means that you're going to fill the opposite side for the other person. So sometimes you may need a compromise there. Yeah. I dated a Gemini years and years and years ago. And very much like, I'm going to meet you at this time, and then we're going to go do this. And I'm like, all right, we got a plan, but like, if we stay at the restaurant for an extra half an hour, like, it's not going to hurt us,
I'm like, no, dude, that's a problem.
Yeah.
We balance each other out, right?
Yeah, you have to learn just to kind of balance each other out. So that's a good thing. And you can always, people at work, sometimes they just like to talk about, they're like, oh, my birthday's like whatever, and then you can tell what sign they are. It can help you a lot, guys, I'll tell you, because if you have a Sagittarian boss versus a Capricorn boss, very different, very, very different, or a Virgo boss versus a Taurus boss.
Pretty different.
Taurus is, you got to walk in with all the facts. You got to show them it practically. Virgo, you have to work within their system.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And be open to listening to when they say maybe this piece would be better for you or not. Taurus is just, like they're all about the practical. How you save me money, how you make me money. Like, what do you? So knowing that about each of these signs can help. So yes, it's important you read your horoscope or get your chart done with your sign, but there's so much more to it, which we're going to talk about all that.
It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited.
So fun. Yeah.
Also, to veer into memes just for a moment.
Oh, please, let us veer into meme.
But I was like, oh my God. So part of me is like, what would be a good meme for each sign? But we don't even have to do it one by one. But I was wondering, because I've been watching a lot of Drag Race, but I'm wondering, like, part of me keeps putting like on Taurus is like opulence.
Yeah.
You everything. And I know
You
that's
have
not right.
everything. Yes.
Right. But that made me laugh. Do we cut my horrible impression of that? Possibly.
Oh no, I don't think we should. But that is totally yeah, opulence. You have everything. Yeah, that's totally Taurus. Totally. You know, and you can see that by some of the outfits too, like how some people are coming out. You're like, you know, someone who has like is Drag Race anyway. For you guys who haven't seen it, they're usually in this part of the seasons, or as high as they are, they have a lot. They have money to spend on costumes.
Right.
But you can see like who's got like a Taurus Venus, because they really want the I mean, they're outrageous. And Leos, they usually have the big hair.
Right.
Not that drag queens don't, but they have like they'll have the 2 or 3 wigs going on and stuff like that. So Julie, do you have something to talk about with the sun, since we were talking about?
So we were thinking about it. Part of what we're looking at doing too is we're going to have kind of we've got like witchy stuff and astro stuff, and we're going to do deeper stuff on our Patreon, which is getting ready to launch. We'll put the link in show notes kind of situation, so you can go ahead and get on the waiting list before we open it, because we'd love to have you there. We're going to have lots of fun. But so I was thinking about it the other day, and I think like light, sun sign, magic kind of stuff. I mean, basically you could like figure out what your sign is, right? Most of us already know what it is, but if you don't know, you just figure it out when your birthday is, and then you figure out are you like a earth, air, fire, water kind of person, right? And then you get like a representation of whatever that is for you. Is it a little bowl of water? Is it like a rock you like? Is it some incense or like a feather? You know, is it like, you know, a giant ass candle or whatever resonates for you, that kind of is a representation of what that is. Oh, and like air people too, you can even use like sound, like people use like singing bowls to do that kind of stuff. Like that's a fun way to cleanse that way. Anyway, we'll probably do something about that later.
Yes.
Fire sign energy, but pull it together, brain. So you go outside when it's sunny, because right, we're connecting with our sunness. You go outside when it's sunny with your little representation of your sign. And obviously, like, you can get as deep into this or not. Mary was like, remember to keep it simple, because I will be like, and then you can get this and this, and this means this, and this means that. And we're going to do that on Patreon. We're going to let me go nuts that way over there. So if you want big lists of things that you can use, and we'll have fun and we'll make stuff together, you can join us there. Anyway, coming back for the second time. So you take your representation, you go outside. If you want to be extra fancy about it, you go outside on a Sunday with it. And then you go out there and then you just sit with it and kind of maybe think about, what did you learn about your sign? How do you feel that in yourself? Like, how can you tap into that, right? And it doesn't have to be like hardcore logical, unless that's who you are. And that might be a way that shows up for you, right? And just kind of notice how that is and be with it as long as you are. And you might be able to find different places how your magic and centering and stuff works for you. That's our little witchy corner.
Yes, I love it.
Corner.
So, I love it. Can I ask you a couple of questions about it?
Yes.
So as a Sagittarius, I am about fire. I'm a fire sign. You're a fire sign as an Aries. So my thing would be like, as you were talking, I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a candle out there because I love, right? And, or a representation of light. If you can't have fire, like, you know, if you have don't, you know, and I think that's the thing, right? Like, don't make it complicated. If you're like, oh my God, I don't have a candle. Well, what else represents light, right?
Well, it could be a flashlight. It could be a picture of a candle. Like, it doesn't have to, you know, just anything that makes you think about it, right? And focus on it.
And then Sunday is because Sunday is the sun's day, right? And for magical, like, it's the beginning of the week. It's sun is like really like how you're starting your week off. So you go on Sunday. And then like once you sit with the item, you know, it sounds like a bit of like a reflection meditation on it, right?
I love that you're here, because I've never explained the stuff I do to people out loud. So this helps a lot. But yeah, it's kind of like a reflection, like a meditation. Like, it's good to sit there and take some breaths, try to steady your breathing, try to calm, you know, get reduced distractions, you know. Yeah.
And then people can sit for as long as they want, right? It doesn't have to be a long time. If someone sits for 5 minutes and they feel like they're done, or they sit for 20 minutes, that's fine. Do you usually recommend that folks should bring like a little notebook outside with them, or maybe go inside and then write something down if they get anything? Or
I think whatever. So if you have a way that works for you, possibly like a Virgo or someone already knows exactly how they like to notate things for themselves, like do that. Or do you have an app on your phone? Or do you want to write something down? Does it feel more ethereal, right? I've only recently started journaling again. So
yeah.
whatever works that way. If you want to record it,
Ooh.
some people I know, you could do like a voice note to yourself if you prefer that kind of thing, right? Also I've done retreats and stuff where we ended up like doing like bringing paper, and this is if we're getting, if you want to, if you're already crafty, you can bring paper and like oil pastels or something and like draw the representation of what that is. You can even like go a next step, and if you draw a circle on it to start and then you just kind of focus down into it, you can end up making a mandala that kind of pulls the feeling out there. Anyway, there's a lot of things you could do.
Yeah. And the reason why you'd want to get closer to your sun sign is really just to get to know yourself better, because that's your core.
Right.
So, yeah, that makes sense. I think getting to know yourself better and getting to know those characteristics of the sign is like really good, because there's so many things, there's so many layers to an individual, and their sun sign alone just shows them that, so
yeah,
it's good to
and
make
it
that.
shows you maybe what are you avoiding looking at, right? Not that everything has to be hardcore shadow work, but maybe there's some stuff that you've been pretending not to see, or really gotten good at not seeing.
Yes.
That seems like it could be, Mary was talking about like there's positives and not necessarily negatives, but like deltas, like there's opposite sides to things, right? Whatever. Or different sides. It doesn't have to be opposite, but we don't always accept all sides of us. And is it because we don't like it, or is it somebody told us because it wasn't a good quality to have?
Right.
And maybe sometimes you go back to that part and you work with it, and it sometimes you feel a little better.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Great self-care. I love it. Yeah.
We're trying, girl.
Yeah, you know what? Information is great. And then if we can work with it, some people, like my aunt was saying today, I was talking to my aunt, she's like, if you're teaching me something, I have to do it. I have to touch it in order to remember it. And I think that's something like this can be something for people to really embrace their sun sign and who they are. And I think it's a great exercise. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Oh, and it could look, now I'm like, my brain's going, but I'm like, if you like to write, you don't have to just journal. Like you could write like a poem or like whatever kind of comes out, I'm not a huge writer, so I don't exactly, but I know people who are, like Mary.
Yeah, I love
and like
I'd be all about that. Yeah. And just set your intention, guys, before you go out, to say like, this is what I'm doing with it. Like, do you find, Julie, that's like, if you set that intention, you're already mindful of what you're trying to?
I think so. Yeah. I mean,
no, tell me, because I don't.
Disconnected as I can be, and also perfectionistic as I can be, if that slows you down, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Like, just try it, because not everything has to be, as I tell myself this, not everything has to be perfectly planned out with all the different correspondences and all that kind of stuff. And I remember when I first started meditating, the person I was talking to about it, they were like, well, what's stopping you from doing it? And it's like, well, I don't have like a space set up where I can sit the way I want to, that's quiet and all this and this. And they were like, Julie,
right.
You don't have to have any of that stuff. Right. And I was like, what do you mean you don't have to have any of stuff? What? Don't I basically have to have like a yoga studio shrine situation, like in a cute corner of my house?
Yoga studio shrine situation in the corner of my house. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Isn't that what I'm supposed to have? And they're like, no. They are a tourist who told me this. So
yeah.
Take it from the likes to have nice stuff in their house person. You don't have to have that specifically.
Well, that's all right. They're like practical. They're like, you don't need all of it. You don't need all of it.
I will say, if you can do it, the more you do it, the practice it and like kind of hang out with it. If you can bring that intention as you get there, I think it does like empower you and focus you,
Yeah. Yeah, it's an idea.
But I also sometimes am a sloppy witch, and I'm like, well, fuck it, let's ride.
You're not a sloppy witch. You're like, just like, this is, I gotta go. I just gotta go.
An Aries witch.
I just gotta go do. I same with Sag. Just like, well, do we have anything? No, we'll figure it out. Let's go. Yeah, no, I get we're like a Capricorn would be like, here are all my things. Virgo, here's my system. I'm going out at X time. I'm gonna do it for this amount of time. I'm gonna, yeah. I mean, that's why if you guys have ever been to like a manifestation group or anything like that, and you're working with people, you can see all the different styles of how people work. So it's cool.
Yeah.
It can be frustrating, but it can also be cool because you're seeing the ways different people are working. So that can always be fun if you have a friend that you go sit outside with and do your sun work, SUN work. Yeah, your shiny work there. Yeah, it's good stuff.
And if you want to, tell us how your sun work goes.
I would love to hear about it.
I know, right? That would be amazing. Yeah. And if it feels weird to put it out in the world, you can email it to us. You can put it in the Q&A from the show. You can send it to us in a voicemail. Whatever you want to do.
Yes, absolutely. And if you have questions about what we talked about today with the astrology, let us know. This, like I said, this season we're going to be all about all the planets, the signs. We're going to talk about everything with astrology, and you can learn a lot. And we'll talk about celebrity charts. I mean, it's just a lot of fun learning this season. So
it's going to be fun. I'm excited.
Me too.
Yay.
Jules, I think we reached the end. I can't
look at us. We did it. We did it without totally getting off topic.
I know. We
covered all of our stuff. I know. I'm proud of us. And I hope you all are too. And I hope it was as entertaining as when we randomly talk about BS all last season.
Oh, but guys, listen, like, subscribe, please share, rate is really important for us too. We're trying to get this podcast out there more. So any love you can show us, we so appreciate it. And we want to hear from you. So please feel free to reach out. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Yay.
Yay. All right, guys. Well, we will sign off. We'll say bye. And I will say, as I always say, you are magic.
Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at High Priestess Hype Club. Find us on Patreon and join our waiting list because we're going to drop some amazing things on there in the coming weeks. Please take a moment to rate, like, and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. We'll be back every Thursday to hype you up. Email us at highpriestesshypeclub@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail by clicking the link in the show description. We're so excited to hear from you. See you next week.